Hi everyone, this is my GBDA 310 Assignment 3 Learn UX Evaluation Plan. My concept is called First 7. It is a physical first week navigation kit for newcomers to our region. The most important mindset for this evaluation is that I'm not trying to prove that First 7 already works. Instead, I am trying to find out what should change before the concept moves forward. This project also builds on my Assignment 2 feedback. I changed the framing of the concept. First 7 does not replace existing newcomer resources. Instead, it acts as a new physical navigation layer that helps users prioritize and use those existing resources more clearly. First 7 includes a fold-out journey board, priority task cards, progress tokens, an I need help marker, and a local resource map. The target users are new permanent residents, newcomer families, recently arrived international residents or students, and settlement workers or welcome desk as support stakeholders. The problem space is that existing resources are helpful, but the first week can still feel scattered and hard to prioritize. So the biggest risk is not whether the kit looks good. The real risk is whether people understood its purpose and can actually use it to decide what to do next. My main evaluation question is, can First 7 help newcomers identify what to do first better than a standard resource list? This slide responds directly to the feedback from Assignment 2. The key correction is that First 7 should not claim the newcomer's support does not exist. There are already many newcomer websites, settlement services, and local organizations that provide useful information. However, what remains unaddressed is the way this information is organized. Existing resources are often organized by provider or service category. That means the newcomer still has to decide what is urgent, what can wait, and where to begin. First 7 responds to this gap by organizing support around task sequence. Instead of only giving more information, it focuses on action, progress, and help moments. So my evaluation focus is, does this navigation layer reduce uncertainty or does it just add one more object? The highest risk assumption is that newcomers will understand and value a physical sequencing tool because existing resources can feel scattered during the first week. If this assumption is wrong, First 7 may become clutter instead of support. The design might need to become a service touchpoint instead of a physical kit, or the language and stage may need to change. I created 3 hypotheses. The first hypothesis is about priority. I believe newly arrived immigrants need a first week task sequencing tool because existing resources can feel scattered. I'll know this is true when users can identify their first 3 priority actions after using First 7. The second is about usability. I believe users can understand the 5 stages kit structure because it uses clear physical sections and simple task cards. The third is about emotional trust. I believe the I need help marker and progress tokens can reduce anxiety because they make uncertainty and progress visible, but I also need to test whether users describe them as reassuring, not childish or confusing. My evaluation plan uses 3 methods. The first method is mapping, using a service blueprint and comparator gap map. This tests whether First 7 fits into the existing newcomer support system instead of duplicating it. The second method is people, through concept card interviews. This helps me understand how users or stakeholders interpret the concept, value, and tone. The third method is artifact, using a paper kit task test. This let me observe whether people can use a rough physical version of the kit to choose first steps. Together, these 3 methods test system fit, using understanding and actual interaction with the physical kit. The first method is a service blueprint plus comparator gap map. What I am testing is whether First 7 adds a useful navigation layer. I also want to understand whether it could be distributed and whether it duplicates existing websites or organizations them better. This method is appropriate because before testing with users, I need to understand the system around the product. The system includes settlement agencies, welcome desk, libraries, websites, and community organizations. To implement this, I would first map the newcomer first week journey. This includes arrival, information search, service contact, and task completion. Then I would overlay existing resources such as Waterloo Region, IRCC, Immigration Waterloo Region, and settlement agencies. After that, I would mark friction points like too many choices, unclear first steps, no progress visibility, and unclear help moments. Success would mean the map identifies at least 2 moments where first 7 clearly reduces sequencing or priority confusion without replacing existing services. The second method is concept card interviewing with newcomers and stakeholders. This method tests whether users understand the concept, whether the value proposition makes sense, whether the tone feels supportive or childish, and whether users prefer physical, digital, or hybrid support. I would aim for 5 to 6 participants. They could be recently arrived students, newcomers, international residents, or one settlement worker if accessible. The interview structure would be simple. I would show a one-page concept card explaining the problem, the kit components, and a use scenario. Then I would ask participants to explain what first 7 is in their own words. I would also ask them to rank the most useful components: the journey board, task cards, progress tokens, help markers, and map. The data collected would include quantitative quotes, a comprehension score, component useful ranking, tune reactions, and confusing language. Success would mean the most participants under first 7 as a first week navigation tool, not just another brochure. The third method is a paper prototype task test. This method is important because interviews only show what people say. A task test shows what people actually do. The rough prototype would be much simpler than the polished concept image. It would include a folder paper journey board, 6 to 8 task cards, 3 progress tokens, and 1 red "I need help" marker. The task scenario would be: imagine you arrived in Waterloo yesterday, you have many links and tasks. Use this kit to decide your first 3 actions. I would give the participant the rough kit with no long explanation and ask them to think aloud. I would observe whether they start, whether they hesitate, whether they understand the help marker, and how they use the progress system. The measure would include the first 3 actions selected, time to understand the structure, number of hesitations, whether the help marker is understood, and a confidence ranking from 1 to 5. Success would mean participants can select possible first steps and describe the kit as clarifying rather than adding more confusion. This plan is scoped so I could responsible be completed in 1 week. Day 1, I would prepare the materials including the hypothesis interview guide, consent script, concept card, and paper kit. Day 2, I would create a service blueprint and comparator gap map. Day 3, I would recruit 5 to 6 participants through classmates, newcomer or student networks, or one stakeholder. Day 4 and 5, I would run a 30-minute session combining the concept card interview and paper kit task. Day 6, I would synthesize the findings by priority confusion, kit comprehension, trust and tone, and missing tasks. Day 7, I would decide what to keep, change, remove, or text next. That's about it. Thank you.